Hey guys, Hayden here with a quick tutorial on navigating your DAW, which stands for Digital Audio Workstation. A lot of people just refer to this as a DAW. Just an FYI, these tutorials are geared towards dancers to help you make your own dance mix or edit. So we won't be covering anything super fancy or technical, mostly just shortening songs, transitioning from one song to the next, things like that. So let's just get right to it. Today we are talking about Pro Tools, which is a DAW made by Avid. It's available on both Apple and Windows computers, and this DAW is one of the industry standards for audio work. Therefore, it is really difficult to learn. It's more for audio professionals and audio engineers, and it can easily get really complicated and difficult to navigate if you don't know what you're doing. So if you're new to making dance mixes, I would recommend something like Audacity or GarageBand or something like that, or even Dance Cuts, because of course that's the one that we've made and we think it's the best. So definitely check those out if this is new to you. Pro Tools does start out at $80 a year. I did put a link to it in the description if you're still interested in using Pro Tools. So when opening up Pro Tools, you should see this screen here. We're going to go ahead and title our mix first. We're going to call it My Mix. This is in the Create tab here as well. If you have other projects you've been working on, they'll show up in the Recents tab. Anyway, we're going to do that, leave it at local storage. We're going to leave all these settings the same. The only one you might have to worry about is this last used setting. You may want to change that to stereo mix. That's the most common thing you'll use. If this is somebody else's computer though, the last used settings may be helpful. You may have to ask whoever's computer it is that you're using how they have that set up. We're going to choose a location here. In this case, the Dance Cuts Tutorials is a great place for me. So I'm going to click Create there, and our project is now created. So the first thing I'm going to do here is change some of the things that I'm viewing, because I don't need a lot of these tools for editing a quick dance mix. So what I'm going to do is come up here to this down arrow. I'm only going to want the transport, MIDI controls, and universe, clip list, and MIDI input display selected. So be sure to do that first so that you don't get confused about what we're talking about in this video. So first thing I'm going to do is import a couple songs. Once, you can see how that's done, and two, this will make this tutorial a little easier to understand if I have some visuals. So what we're going to do is go to File, Import Audio. So this is the first way to do this. There's two ways. This is the harder way. This will pull up this funky looking Finder window, and then if I just double click on the song that I need and then click Done, you don't have to worry about anything else. It's all kind of crazy stuff. I could explain it all, but really this is the simplest way to do it. Click Done, click Open. This is just saving a copy of that file that we just selected into a separate location. Don't worry about that. Click Open and your song will be imported. Oh, first it's going to make us select New Track. Again, this is the harder way to import a song. So click New Track, click OK. And there we go. It is imported into our editor. The second way, which is a lot easier, is just to open up your Finder window or File Explorer if you're on a Windows computer, navigate to where your song is, and simply drag and drop into your editor. And there it is. And Pro Tools is nice, and it color codes each track a different color, so it's easy to navigate. And to add sound effects, I can do the same thing. I can just go to the Finder window, grab any sound effects I may have, and drop them into my mix as well. Oops, I accidentally put that in between the two, so I'm just going to drag that back down. Okay, so now I'm just going to show you around. I'm really just going to point out the tools that you're going to need, because there's so much going on here in Pro Tools. It would take a long time to cover everything. So really what I'm going to do is just show you the crucial tools for editing and making a dance mix. So we have our slip and grid here. I would leave this on slip. If you're ever confused about how things are moving around, or, you know, this window pulls up when you're clicking, it's because you have something funny selected up here. So I would just click on slip or grid. I prefer slip because it's really fine-tunes where you can drag things. So leave that there. Up here, the main tools you really want to use are this Smart tool, which is all three of these tools selected. I'll go through each of these really quick. So this first one is the Trim tool. If I click just the Trim tool, my cursor is going to change. These are our cursor tools. It's going to change and show this icon. And what this will do is anywhere I click on the track, you'll see that it switches based on if I'm on the left side of this track or the right side of this track. Anywhere I click, it's going to shorten to that point. So that can be kind of useful to quickly shorten a mix. I can also click and drag, so I can kind of fine tune where I'm going to be. And that's pretty much it for this tool. The next tool here is our selector tool. And so in this one, I'm going to work on this first track here. I can just select parts that maybe I want to cut out of my mix. So say this is a chorus I don't want. I can highlight that, click delete on my keyboard, and it is gone, just like that. I also have this grabber tool. This is really handy because I can move things around. So the smart tool, which is all three of these combined, I just click above this. It'll do all three of these depending on where I'm hovering in my mix. So if I'm on the top half of my audio file, then it's going to be the selector tool. If I'm on the bottom half, it's going to be my grabber tool, which will move it. And then if I'm on the edge of the clip here, it'll change to the trim tool. So I can trim that how I'd like. So that's the way I like to do it, is just keep it on the smart tool there. The only other thing up here you'll have to worry about is this tab to transients. This is kind of helpful. If I zoom in here really quick, the way to zoom in is by clicking where I want to zoom in, and then I click this plus button down here in the right-hand corner. I'll zoom in. If I hit tab on my keyboard with this tab to transients button on, this will actually tab over to the heavy transient. So if I'm trying to get right to the beginning of a downbeat or a section, that'll put me right at the beginning of that transient so I can make my cuts more fine-tuned. So that's kind of helpful. Whoops, we're on shuffle. So now I can go ahead and zoom back out. This is our LCD screen. This is kind of crazy stuff. I don't worry about this. The only thing I do is change this to minutes and seconds so I know how long my mix is. That's kind of helpful. And anywhere I click in the mix, it'll say, okay, we're at 1 minute 57 seconds. So that's good to know. I don't really worry about the grid and the nudge. This is our transport tool here. This is pretty obvious, just play, stop. I do play with my space bar though. That's the shortcut to do that. And pause is with space bar again, or stop. So that's that. You don't really have to record anything for our case with editing and mixing dance music. And then we can move forward through our mix or to the end. So that can be kind of helpful for navigating. And then here we can adjust the tempo of our mix, which is good for changing our song tempo, which we'll cover in another tutorial. So that's kind of the top part. Down here we have our ruler. If I click along the ruler, it's kind of the same as just clicking along down here, but I can make selections of songs or my whole mix rather than just select one track like this. If I do it up here in the ruler, I can select both. If I want to delete two at a time, you'll see I just did that by hitting delete on my keyboard. I'm going to hit undo. We have some other things over here, time code, tempo. You may have some other ones as well. I can right click on this and customize this as well. And I like this to be minutes and seconds so that I can see the length of my song up here. Time code you have to leave on. Tempo and meter are good to have on as well. So then we have our tracks here. So input, solo, and mute. You don't have to worry about input. Solo will just solo this track alone. So if I click play here, it's only going to play this blue track that I have soloed. If I hit mute, it will actually mute that track and only play the other tracks. So there you go. I do have my automation tool here, which is helpful to add fades to my song. So if I change this to volume, I can add fades by holding command on my keyboard, clicking and making a point on this little black line. And then if I move that point down, it will fade out. And I'll show you that here. If I navigate to right before that point and hit play, you'll hear that. So there you go. If you want to fade out a song, that's how you do that. And then we have our clip list over here. This just has a list of all the clips we've used. So if we ever like delete, like say the sound effect, we deleted it, and then later we wanted to bring it back in, instead of dragging and dropping it from our Finder again, we do have it here. I can just drag and drop from there. Then we have our audio files here that we added earlier. The main things on these is when our waveform is selected here in our automation setting is what that's called. We can adjust the volume of each clip, which is really handy. So now that I've cut this song, if I adjust the volume here, it's just adjusting the volume of this one clip. So if something's too loud or too quiet, I can adjust that. And I can do the same thing with the sound effects. If it's not showing up, it's because you're not zoomed in enough. So if I zoom in here, then there it is. I can adjust the volume of this sound effect. And of course, our zoom in and out tools, these are handy for navigating as well. So you can get everything the right size and be able to see everything that you need. So that's pretty much the gist of it, of navigating here. Just to recap, the most useful tools you will probably use when editing and mixing for dance is the slip and grid tool. Make sure it's on one of those when you're mixing, otherwise some funky stuff might be happening as you're moving things around. Your smart tool selected, tab to transients can be helpful. Your transport bar, obviously, for playback. the clips area to bring things back into your mix that you may have deleted. You have your tracks over here for soloing and muting each individual track, adjusting audio, clip, gain, or volume individually. Again, your smart tool on your clips here will be able to shorten songs for you. And your buttons here, zoom in and out. Okay, so I think that's everything. If there's something I missed, please leave it in the comments. One thing I'm just thinking of right now is a way to split your audio file. Like say I found a place here I want to cut it. I can actually right click and click separate. And now I have my 2 clips. So that's a quick way to make a cut as well. Anything else, leave them in the comments. I'd love to hear from everybody to see how they use Pro Tools. This is just the way that I do it. I like to keep it really simple. Hopefully this video was helpful. If so, please give the video a like and subscribe to our channel. If you have any questions about making mixes or edits for dance, you can contact me directly or head over to dancecuts.com/contact. And just for those curious, here is Dance Cuts, our music editor made for dancers. It has the critical tools that we discussed needing earlier, but they are hopefully much easier to access and learn, as Dance Cuts was created for dancers. It is free, so be sure to check that out. You can do that by heading over to dancecuts.com and navigating to the downloads page. We also have loads of tutorials to help you quickly learn dance cuts, with more tutorials being made regularly. So be on the lookout for those, and we will see you in the next one.